I was SEO Vietnam class of 2012. I spent a summer doing internship with Siemens, and after that, I came back to the organization and volunteer in recruitment team. Last year, I held recruitment director position, and will obviously help recruit many of you guys here today from class of 2014. So yeah, I'm really glad to come back and again just be more involved with the organization and just walk you guys through our grading rubric for the winter program. Definitely exciting just because it's the first time we're doing it. So yeah, all right. So I'm gonna quickly talk about the 4 key factors in our assessment process, and we will adjust like the slide so that you can kind of see what like the different details. Also, I'm gonna talk about changes for this year in the grading rubric, and some highlights on leadership and community service, just because they're like the major bulk of our rubric. And then I'm going to talk about some tips that I feel personally they help me a lot during the grading process. And then, yeah, I'm going to just open it up for Q&A. So if you have any questions, so first, if you cannot hear me, feel free to let me know. You can type in the chat box. And also, if you have any question during the first 30 minutes, also just type in the chat box and I'll address them accordingly. So just to start, this one, okay, so quickly go over the 4 rating factors for our program: academic achievement, leadership potential, community service, and interest in Vietnam. I mean, of course, definitely you guys, prepare application for SEO before, right? And I mean, these are the things that we definitely want to look for in either resume or the essay. And the first 3 have 30% weight, which means that they contribute more towards the grading. And interest in Vietnam is just, sometimes people mention it, sometimes people don't. So that's why we decided to just give it 10% weight. Within each broad rating factors, we also have sub-factors. So as you can see in this table, the sub-factor further give us details about the candidate abilities and his and her achievement, not only in school, but also in other extracurricular activities. And it's also a good indication to really determine whether this candidate would be a good fit or have the potential to strive in our program. And I believe this document is on the share folder. So if you really want to look into like how the scoring is distributed, you can further read on this slide. Next slide for leadership potential, and then community service and interest Vietnam will be the last slide. So definitely read them before you start grading so that you have a good idea of how the score range is distributed. All right, moving on. I don't know how many of you have graded. What is the difference? Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the differences for this year. But if you see any other differences that I didn't catch, feel free to let me know. So yes, so it's similar to 2014. However, for academic achievement, actually, hold on. Yes, for academic achievement, honors and awards, Dean's List and cum laude, yeah, don't count as awards anymore. So the reason why we don't count them as awards anymore is because they are already given or recorded points in the GPA section. So I mean, many of you, if many of you are educated in the U.S. system, once a student reaches a a score, a GPA, like a certain point, then that student would make, for example, Dean's List. So we feel that that is already given in the GPA section. So it's really not fair for students in countries that do not have system. Also, I just want to reiterate that students in the honors program, especially in the US, or receive awards at university or department level, will still get points for honors and awards. Another difference is that if a student joins a group or business competition and finish in a high place, then he or she can be considered to get extra point under honors and awards. So I know it's not really that clear last year, but this time we just want to put it in there just to make sure that people would consider, the graders would consider this achievement while giving score to the candidates. Another difference is that the detailed score breakdown for leadership, community service, and interest in Vietnam. I mean, as you remember, last year we didn't have we have a few questions, suggestive questions for you to think about when you grade applications. However, we didn't have a score breakdown, and I think the disadvantage for that is that there were a lot of score discrepancies between different graders because there was no structure defining what it means to be low or average or high. So we had to regrade a lot of applications. So this time we decided to just have a score breakdown, just have a small small explanation what we perceive as a low score, an average score, or a high score. If you have any other comments or feedback, just let us know, and definitely this scoring sheet or like rubric is still in development. So if you feel like there's certain things that need to be added or further breakdown, feel free to let us know, and then we can apply it for the next recruitment season. All right. Any question? If you have any question regarding these changes, let me know. Moving on, I'm gonna talk about some highlights on leadership and community service, just because I do think that they are good indications to see whether the candidate has a good potential, whether he or she is driving the good program, can fit in. So first, to start with leadership. So definitely we are looking for a candidate who has passion and commitment to the organization. And that passion either shown through how passionate, like how he or she explained about his passion, about why he joined the organization, or how much time he or she has been spending with the organization. And a good indication would be through a number of years. So definitely look for that in the resume. We also look for whether that candidate holds any leadership position. So what are the different roles does a candidate has performed? How important is the roles? Definitely, we also want to look for some tangible, measurable result, and also a good indication of the contribution towards the organization. Also, the candidate needs to demonstrate a level of maturity, and this can be judged through his viewpoints, why this role, why this organization, and also past actions. And I think good ways to judge this is through example about whether the candidate can overcome adversity, for example, conflicts, rejections, or failures, because it's definitely set people apart in how they deal with difficulties. All right, we have a question from Nghĩa. For a candidate have GPA 2.9 over 4, meaning 7.5 over 10 in the academy. How can we decide to give a point? All right, hold on, let me look. So 2.9 over 4, meaning 7.5. So I'm seeing GPA right here, and I'm seeing that if it's less than 3.0, it's equal to less than 7.0 in Vietnamese system. So okay. All right. So the answer from how? Obviously, because I'm seeing the conversion, but I mean, if I see it's 2.9, it's definitely less than 7.0 for me, presented in this scoring sheet. So has answer is, if they are in U.S. education, I would give them a 4. In Vietnam, I would give them an 8. Okay. So that's the answer. So to move on, I'm gonna talk about some highlights in community service and leadership. So we cover leadership, community service. Community service, then definitely we look for a passion in the cause. So when a student volunteers for an organization, we really cares whether the student's intention is true, whether he or she is passionate about the cause, about the organization, about what he or she volunteers for, and that can be judged through essays. Also, the time commitment. So volunteering can be in multiple forms, and definitely there's some student volunteers, just as an extracurricular activities, let's say a charity run once a year, or just an event with the club they are in. But definitely we want to look for students that really want to invest time in the organization, whether he or she volunteers on a weekly basis, monthly basis, or have been with the organization for years. And I think the most important things, sometimes it's really hard to grade volunteering services just because a small action or a small event might not give much contribution, in the larger picture. However, I think that it's very important how the candidate perceive his contribution through that small action or small event. So for example, whether the candidate helps tutor the student, this high school student, and he or she perceives that that's meaningful, that's impactful, then I think that's would count, because the candidate realized that his action and his contribution actually make a meaningful impact in the community. And also again, to reiterate, definitely I know that this time the length for the essay has changed from, I don't remember last year, but I think changed to 250 words. So the essay might be limited, so definitely use both essays and resume to judge. Resume, you can tell whether the candidate ever held a leadership position or how long he or she has been with the organization. Essays would be to judge the motive, the level of contribution, and also the passion for the organization. All right. So I mean, I'm seeing still some discussion about GPA. So definitely we can discuss this during the Q&A session, so that, I mean, everyone has if you have any comments about how the GPA breaks down is, then we can definitely discuss it during the Q&A. All right. So Had just told me that 5 essays of 500 words. Now, so back then we had 5 essays of 500 words, and now we have 4 essays of 250 words. And last one is 100 words only. Okay. So definitely the length this time. The length of the essay this time is not as long as last time. So I think, I can foresee some challenges here, but definitely, use resume and essay extensively as much as possible to complement each other while you create application. Okay, and also just a note. We have a grading exchange spreadsheet. So graders can from different regions can actually talk to each other, and we have a representative from each region to answer your questions. So if you ever have any question about again, for example, for GPA from a different education system, feel free to ask your question on the grading exchange spreadsheet, and then we will have someone to answer your question. All right, so some tips, personal tips. So first of all, I think that it's really important for the first couple applications, just to go through them, the first 5 applications, for example, go through them and just grade them in your usual speed. One mistake I made in the past was just to dwell on them for so long and just keep thinking about what would be a good grade to give for a particular section. I think my tips is that just grade them in your usual speed. Don't think too much about it. And then after the first 5 applications, you can go back and regrade because by that time you would know, how you would give score, like the difference in the differences in like the level of local and overseas student, and how would you distribute score for different students. The next tip would be provide as many details as possible in your comments. So definitely, recruitment team treats the comment we treat it seriously, just because 2 reasons. First, we're gonna have a lot of borderline candidates, meaning candidates that are gonna be, if given like an extra 0.25 or half a point, she or she might make it. So comments give us the rationale for borderline candidates, and why you think he or she deserve a chance to move on to the interview round. Also, it's going to help us understand why a particular score was given, just as general idea, so that we know how to improve our grading rubric next time, or improve our grading process. The next one is to take into consideration the difference in opportunities between overseas and local students. And why did I put this as a tip? Just because I think that sometimes, as someone who educated overseas for college, I feel like it was hard when I first started grading local applications, and definitely just really keep in mind that students from different regions would have different access to opportunities, and maybe we can partly forgive some minor bad English usage, for example, word choice, grammar, or sentence structure. In my opinion, as long as the candidate can successfully translate his or her thoughts on paper, as long as I understand what he did, his motive and the result, and I would definitely give him credit for it. Also, the differences in the level of involvement. So definitely, I do think that in some foreign countries, people do have access to more, involvement outside of school activities. So definitely, just be open-minded. However, this does not mean that we should be lenient to local candidates. We provided some example for both local and overseas candidates. So it's very important to read over the sample essays to get an understanding of how a top local candidate's profile should look like. And actually, I'm gonna gonna go back to community service real quick, just because something hit my mind. So community service and leadership also take many forms. Um, so as so we use so each of our we use each of the essay to kind of determine different aspect in the grading rubric. So just be reminded that um, there's not going to be like one particular essay. For example, what do you do for community service? There's not going to be something like that. You will have to use multiple essay to just kind of judge the level of leadership potential or the level of involvement or the passion for community service. So just be reminded of that. Essay from community service maybe can be a good indication for leadership potential. For example, if the candidate actually led or hosted an event or a charity, for example, a charity events. So I definitely think that all of this essay should be used to grade these 2 points. All right, so that wraps up uh, everything that I have for today. So next, I'm going to open it up for Q&A and see if you guys have any questions and see if we can address them. Can someone turn it back to discussion mode? And if you have any question, you can type them in the chat box. I mean, definitely you guys can feel free and type it there. For question that I might not have a definite answer for, or if we have, disagreement in how we should do it, then definitely if you have any opinion, then you can type it. Or I'm fine if we turn it back to discussion mode. So let's start with typing and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we have can someone please show the Excel spreadsheet? I don't have it available. If you can show, excuse me, if you can show the Excel spreadsheet, then I can quickly go over them. All right, so first question. Our official announcement for winter programs stated Vocarious? Appetite for learning instead of commitment to Vietnam. Any notes here? So definitely, I think, in my opinion, and that's why the reason why we decided that interest in Vietnam only weighs 10%, is that I feel like for student, it's really hard to determine that whether he or she will going to be committed, meaning that I will, like a student would move back to Vietnam and start working and cannot wait to contribute, to the Vietnam's economy. Um, and I do think that why a lot of them are still in school, it's really hard to tell whether he or she, what he or she wants to do in the future. So I definitely, we want to look for some tie to Vietnam, going back home one summer and participate in an internship, or going back to Vietnam and just help volunteering or participate in programs, for example, like SEO. So I do think that it has to start with the appetite for learning, the passion, um, and whether he or she want to contribute. Is that something that I think the organization wants to see in a candidate, and to develop them from the ground up. The in, that the intention has to be built from the ground up, and then hopefully in the future, maybe through SEO program, that candidate can further define his or her career track and determine whether he or she should, move back to Vietnam right away, or continue his career overseas and then come back to Vietnam later. All right. So if a student score is IELTS 6.5 or official score or no official score at all, we should get 6 points for language proficiency automatically. Sorry. Let me look at the score sheet real quick. I think so language ability, so if a score is 6.5, definitely we said in the rubric that other will be 6 points. Consider a combination of point 4, 5. Okay. Okay. So so if it's 6 points, sorry. Yes. So yes, definitely get 6 points for. So I just want to confirm. So if IELTS is 6.5, he or she will get 6 points, right? But if it's no official at all, then we will have to treat it differently. And like has said, that consider, depending the English in essays and her CV would probably give her a 4 or a 5. But definitely if the candidate doesn't mention, score for, on a bus exam, that is really hard to judge. And also just want to quickly go over the Excel spreadsheet. So what you guys seeing here is the grading spreadsheet, a sample grading spreadsheet. We send out sample applications, including CVs, resume, and essays. So if you have time, or actually if you have a free night, really please do read over these application and find out why what a score were given to these applications. Also, we have I believe we have 4 different categories. So we have a complete fail, a borderline fail, a complete pass, and a very good application. So definitely go through them, and so that you can be familiar with our grading system and our score range. So Ha just commented that a 6 point, sorry, hold on, scroll. Okay, so a 6.5 in IELTS is probably an 8. The explanation was for people with no indications. Okay, so yes, so as mentioned, a 6.5. See, the thing is that it's really sometimes if a score is not given for these standardized tests. You will need to look through the essay and just kind of determine the level of English proficiency. A 6.5 is close enough. I assume, I mean, I didn't take IELTS before, so I don't really know the score breakdown. But if you feel confident that this person do have, a good English skill, then you can be more lenient and give them something more than 6 points. Any other questions? All right. So we have, okay, Amy Doe, do you have preference for specific community service program since some might demand more efforts and have more long-term impacts? As mentioned, yes, not a particular preference for what type of community service that they do, or what type of causes that they volunteer for. I do think that any action, small or large, do make an impact in the community. However, I do think that it doesn't matter which cause he or she volunteers for. They need to show a long-term commitment. Definitely, we would give higher grade for students that have been volunteering for the same organization for many years. Higher grade for students that actually initiate or lead events, actually reach out to people and make sure that an event get hosted or run smoothly. So that showed that student actually put in effort, not just show up and then do a charity run. Also, we want to look for students who actually can, again, leadership potential can go into community service, right? Can be a good indication. So definitely look for students who show that they can spread the word, they can initiate something different. And I think that would be a very good way to judge their level of passion and commitment towards their activities. All right. Let me know if you have any, if you still have questions regarding community service. About school, I get that Tier 1 consists of listed top school. How about Tiers 2? Okay. Okay, so let me go to all right, so does anyone have that prepare the PDF files has answer for this? Definitely, I mean, I'm familiar with the US system. So I'm looking at a US system right now, and definitely Tier 1 would be anything that listed. However, for example, someone from a good school, that I know of. So I'm looking at, okay, so right now I'm in the Boston area, right? So I'm looking at here and I'm seeing, let me see if BU is on here. So for example, I know that in Boston, Boston College and Boston University is a pretty good school. So let's say if someone is from BU, I would give them a Tier 2. But if you have any, okay, can you show them through the guide of each country system? Okay. Oh, right here. All right, sorry. So I mean, definitely, please feel free to chime in, just because. And then that's why we have a grading exchange spreadsheet, so that if you grade a student from a different region and you don't know whether the school is is good or not, then you can actually talk to someone in that region. They'll tell you. So as mentioned, right? So I'm not seeing Boston University in here. Let me know if I'm wrong. Trying to skim through. Okay, but I know that. Again, is a really good school. So if it's not listed in here, it's not like the top school, but it's still a pretty good school. So I would give it a Tier 2. And then we have Singapore here, Vietnam education system. And I mean, we have less school for Vietnam region, so definitely someone can help you with this. Also, I remember I graded someone from the UK, and I either use Google and just look up and see the general ranking, or just ask someone in that market, and then he or she should be able to give you an explanation. All right, my fam from United States. I have a question about typos under the additional notes for graders. So it doesn't matter how many errors the student makes in his or her writing. We will deduct 0.5 out of 10 for the whole application. I think this really depends, right? I mean, definitely a few typos here and there might be acceptable. I know that we said the maximum score is 0.5, but if definitely the typos really affects your ability of understanding their essays and their application, then I would say feel free to go up. And then I do think that, I mean, just feel free to go up and deduct, but don't go too overboard. Don't deduct 3 points out of the application. But definitely, I mean, 0.5, or if it's very, very serious, so I would say it's 0.75 or 1 if that application is completely unreadable. And Ha actually chimed in, and she said, if you think that the person wrote mistake due to the English level or because of their attention, and so a candidate studying computer science but mistyped Google and Yahoo 4 times in CV and 3 times in their essays. Okay. So just want to confirm. So I mean, definitely, personally, if it's again, like she said, I do think that a few typos here and there is acceptable, but if it's really serious and it doesn't make sense at all, then I mean, that's application doesn't deserve. I don't think it's worth it to consider, to even be considered. And let me know if I mean, if anyone disagrees with that. All right, How you from Turkey? I think they already have points for language ability. You can deduct points there. And definitely, I mean, language ability is a good indication. If that person has a high score for a standardized test, but they make multiple, and I'm talking about, like, you know, just typos in grammatical error, right? Misspell company names and people's name, like have a quote but misspell even the guy's name, then it's kind of like that person doesn't really like put much effort into the application. So for example, sorry, go back to the language ability. So if that person has a good standardized test score, but then you realize that there's some discrepancy reading the essay, it just doesn't reflect the score, then I mean, I would seriously consider giving less point for the essay, just because there's definitely something fishy going on there. All right. So Ha also have a small comment. So if you think they did not spend the time in writing, even 8 IELTS but wrong basic grammar and bad English, probably they did not consume much time for their application for SEO. Yeah, so as I said, it's either that the candidate didn't put enough time into the application, or maybe I mean, definitely, I'm not saying cheating, but definitely the level of English in the essay needs to go with the score given for a standardized test. All right, any other questions? And if you have any disagreement, feel free to type it here, and then and then we'll see if we can address it. Because definitely there's going to be a lot of things that you will have to consider. The grading rubric is just, again, I mean, it's a good breakdown. However, there are different cases that, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable giving score, then definitely contact a recruitment officer and ask for the help. All right, I am not seeing any other questions. So just to go over quickly, in case you haven't, look at our share folders. So in the share folders, we have, again, the sample grading Excel spreadsheet that has the score breakdown for each of the section in our grading rubric. And again, please go over this before you start grading, just because for some of you who might be grading the first time, it's very important just to see, get a feel of how the application would look like, how we perceive a low score student or a great student. Also, we provide a PDF file. It's a grading guideline. So this PDF file is on the is presented here at the moment. It's go over the different grading scale, the rationale for the score. Sorry. And then a breakdown in top tier of school. Also, at the end, just some additional notes. Please make sure you read them. And I mean, I can tell that a lot of you read them already. So yay! Let us know if you have any other questions. And then the last thing again is the grading exchange spreadsheet. So we have representative from different region. We have representative from different region assigned. So if you have any question about the education system scoring, for example, first look, I wouldn't know a score in Vietnam. So if you have any question at all, make sure you ask the representative or you type in an exchange spreadsheet so other people can chime in and help you out. The end goal is that finding potential candidates, people who would have the drive and the passion to succeed in the program and to contribute forward, and also just to standardize our grading process over the years. So yeah, definitely. Please make sure you read over on of the sorry. Please make sure you read over on of things and let us know if you have any questions. And then I just saw an announcement, a small announcement. So we're gonna make changes to local score conversion. Please download the new versions. One has email you that they are updated. So well, it seems like we have a lot of disagreement over scoring. So we're gonna make some updates to adjust them accordingly. We have around 7 minutes left. Any other question? Any question at all? Okay. Oh yes, yes. I forgot. So yes. So it's not super important, but definitely keep in mind that if you know a candidate personally, please inform a recruitment officer so that they can swap application. And this just to be fair, no, nothing personal, just to be fair with other candidates. And I don't know how many applications we're going to get for the winter program. I mean, the more the better. But we're going to do, try our hardest to make sure that a fair judgment is given. Also, a small note. master student. So I know it's rare, and had just brought up um, in the chat box is that master student is usually rare, but I mean we do have a lot of students who already graduated college, let's say for a few years, or students who are doing their master. Definitely for master student, please inform recruitment officer and a recruitment officer, and they will exchange the application, just because seniors in our organization would grade them. I mean, they are held to a different, level of standard. Students who have graduated for 1 year, 2 years, definitely again still held at a higher level. What Personally, what I would like to see for students who actually graduated college already and still trying to figure out what he or she wants to do is the range of activities and the level of involvement he or she demonstrate during that gap time. So if he or she's finding a job, then definitely not just sit at home and find, look at jobs all the time, but definitely, I mean, ideally, he or she should have some, part-time job, or like involved in, an organization, just to keep his skill and his knowledge, his skill, just to maintain his skill, and also just to expand his knowledge. All right. So if there is nothing else, I think we can stop right here. Feel free to email us if you have any questions, though, especially for you, those of you who gonna be great, especially for those of you who grade for the first time this year. All right. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much for attending, and happy grading.